Welcome to Woo English Channel, your #1 destination for learning English through engaging and inspiring stories. Today, we're excited to share with you the remarkable journey of Ronald Reagan, an extraordinary tale of resilience, leadership, and the American spirit. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us on this fascinating journey, enhancing your English language skills with each story. Chapter 1. The Young Dreamer. In the heart of Illinois, in a small town called Tampico, a young boy named Ronald Reagan began his journey. The year was 1911, a time when the world was much different than it is today. Ronald, with his bright blue eyes and a head full of brown hair, was a boy full of curiosity and dreams. Ronald's father, Jack Reagan, was a storyteller. Every night he would share exciting tales with Ronald and his brother Neil. These stories were not just tales of fantasy and adventure. They taught Ronald the importance of honesty, courage, and kindness. Ronald's mother, Nell, was a gentle soul, always encouraging her sons to read and learn. She believed that with knowledge and determination, one could achieve anything. The Reagan household was humble, but filled with laughter and love. They didn't have much in terms of material wealth, but the richness of their family bond was beyond measure. Ronald learned early on the value of hard work and responsibility. He helped with chores around the house, always eager to lend a hand. In school, Ronald was known for his charisma and leadership qualities. He wasn't the top student in his class, but he was well liked and respected by his peers and teachers. Ronald had a knack for telling stories, much like his father. His classmates would gather around him during breaks, eager to hear his imaginative tales. Sports played a significant role in young Ronald's life. He loved playing football with his friends. Running across the field, with the sun shining down, and the cheers of his teammates, Ronald felt alive and free. These moments taught him about teamwork, perseverance, and the joy of healthy competition. Apart from sports, Ronald had another passion: acting in school plays. He discovered a love for the stage, a place where he could transform into different characters and explore new worlds. His performances were always met with applause, and with each role, his confidence grew. Ronald's childhood was not without its challenges. There were times when his family struggled financially, and moving from one town to another was difficult. But these experiences taught Ronald resilience. He learned to adapt to new situations, make new friends, and find happiness in the simple things in life. As Ronald grew, so did his dreams. He dreamed of a life beyond his small town, a life filled with adventure and purpose. He was determined to make something of himself, to make his family proud, and to contribute to the world in some meaningful way. Even in his youth, Ronald showed signs of the man he would become. His leadership, charisma, and ability to inspire those around him were evident. Ronald Reagan, the young dreamer from Tampico, was on his way to becoming a figure the world would come to know and remember. As the sun set on his childhood years, the stage was set for the next chapter of his life. Ronald was ready to step into the world, armed with the lessons he learned in his early years, the love of his family, and a heart full of dreams. In this small Illinois town, the story of Ronald Reagan, a boy who would become an actor, a leader, and a president, began. It was a story of hope, determination, and the belief that anything is possible for those who dare to dream. And so, as the stars twinkled in the night sky, Ronald lay in bed thinking about his future. He didn't know exactly what it held, but he was eager to find out. With a heart full of hope and a mind full of dreams, Ronald Reagan closed his eyes, ready to embrace whatever adventures lay ahead. The journey of Ronald Reagan, the young dreamer, had just begun. Chapter 2. The College Years. As the sun rose over the small town of Dixon, Illinois, a young Ronald Reagan prepared for a new chapter in his life. The year was 1928, and Ronald was about to embark on a journey to Eureka College. He was filled with excitement and a bit of nervousness, as any young person would be when stepping into the unknown. Eureka College, a small school in Illinois, was a place of opportunity for Ronald. It was here that he would discover and hone his talents, shaping his early adult life. The college's red brick buildings and green lawns were a far cry from the bustling streets of larger cities, but for Ronald, it was perfect. It was a place where he could grow, learn, and become the man he was meant to be. Ronald's charisma and leadership skills quickly made him a well-known figure on campus. He was not just a student, he was a leader, a performer, and a friend to many. His friendly smile and genuine interest in people made him beloved by his peers and respected by his professors. One of Ronald's first loves at Eureka was acting. The college's theatre group was a place where he could shine. On stage, Ronald transformed. He was no longer a student from a small town. He was a character from another world, living a different life. His performances were captivating, earning him praise and admiration from the college community. But Ronald's college life was not all about acting. He was also an athlete. He joined the college football team, where his determination and teamwork shone through. Football taught Ronald important lessons about discipline, hard work, and the value of working together towards a common goal. The thrill of the game and the camaraderie with his teammates were experiences that stayed with him for years to come. Apart from sports and theatre, Ronald was deeply involved in student politics. He had a natural ability to inspire and lead, which led him to become the president of the student body. This role was not just a title, it was a responsibility that Ronald took seriously. He worked to make the college a better place for all students, advocating for their needs and representing their voices. Eureka College was also a place of personal growth for Ronald. He studied economics and sociology, subjects that helped him understand the world better. These years were a time of intellectual awakening for Ronald. He read extensively, engaged in debates, and formed his own opinions on various issues. The knowledge and insights he gained during these years would later shape his worldview. It was, during his college years, that Ronald's interest in politics and leadership truly blossomed. He admired leaders who stood for freedom and democracy. These ideals resonated with him and would later become the cornerstone of his political philosophy. Ronald's time at Eureka was not without its challenges. Balancing academics, extracurricular activities, and a social life was not easy. There were moments of doubt and uncertainty, times when the future seemed unclear. But Ronald faced these challenges head-on, with determination and a positive attitude. As his college years came to a close, Ronald Reagan had transformed from a young dreamer into a confident, well-rounded individual. He had discovered his talents and passions, and he had made lifelong friends. Eureka College had provided him with a solid foundation, one that would support him in the years to come. Ronald's graduation day was a proud moment. As he stood there in his cap and gown, surrounded by his classmates, he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had worked hard, overcome obstacles, and grown in ways he never thought possible. With his college years behind him, Ronald Reagan was ready to step into the next phase of his life. He had dreams to chase and goals to achieve. The young man who left Eureka College was not the same one who had entered it 4 years earlier. He was stronger, smarter, and ready to make his mark on the world. As Ronald left the college gates for the last time, he looked back at the place that had been his home for the past 4 years. He was grateful for the experiences he had, the lessons he had learned, and the people he had met. With a heart full of hope and a mind full of dreams, Ronald Reagan set out on his journey, ready to embrace whatever the future held. Chapter 3. Hollywood Bound. In the bustling heart of the 1930s, Ronald Reagan, filled with ambition and dreams, set out on a journey to California. He was bound for Hollywood, the glittering land of movies and stars. It was a bold move, a leap into the unknown. But Ronald was driven by a passion for acting and a desire to make a mark in the world of cinema. The journey to California was long, and not without its challenges. Ronald travelled by train, watching the landscapes change as he moved further from his familiar Midwest surroundings. The rolling green fields of Illinois gave way to the vast, arid landscapes of the West. With each mile, Ronald's excitement grew. He was heading towards a new life, a new adventure. Arriving in Hollywood, Ronald was greeted by a world vastly different from the one he had known. The streets of Hollywood were bustling with activity, filled with people chasing their own dreams of fame and fortune. The bright California sun shone down on grand movie theaters and glamorous shops, a far cry from the small towns Ronald had known. Ronald's early days in Hollywood were not easy. The world of movies was competitive, and finding acting roles was a challenge. He faced rejection and disappointment, but he did not lose heart. Ronald knew that success in Hollywood required not just talent, but perseverance and determination. His first break came when he auditioned for a role in a Warner Bros. Film. Ronald's natural charisma and talent shone through, and he was offered a contract. It was the opportunity he had been waiting for, the first step towards realizing his dream. Ronald's early roles were small, but he approached each performance with dedication and enthusiasm. He learned from each experience, honing his acting skills and understanding the nuances of film acting. His efforts paid off, and soon he was landing more significant roles. One of Ronald's notable early roles was in the film Knute Rockne, All-American, where he played the role of the legendary football player George Gipp. His performance was well received, and it helped establish him as a rising star in Hollywood. The film was not just a success for Ronald's career, it also left him with a nickname, the Gipper, which stayed with him for years. As his career progressed, Ronald became known for his roles in films like King's Row, where he delivered a performance that was both powerful and moving. Audiences and critics alike praised his acting, and he became a respected figure in the movie industry. Hollywood life was glamorous, but it was also demanding. Ronald's days were filled with script readings, rehearsals, and long hours on set, but he relished the work, enjoying the creative process and the thrill of bringing characters to life on screen. Apart from his acting career, Hollywood also brought Ronald personal joys. It was here that he met actress Jane Wyman. They fell in love and eventually married, a union that marked an important chapter in Ronald's life. Ronald's time in Hollywood was also a period of personal growth. He became more aware of the social and political issues of the day. The experiences he had and the people he met in Hollywood broadened his perspectives and deepened his understanding of the world. As the years passed, Ronald Reagan's name became synonymous with Hollywood success. He had achieved what he had come for. He had become a star. But Ronald was more than just an actor. He was a man of depth and substance, someone who thought deeply about his role in the world. His journey in Hollywood was not just about fame. It was about finding his place in the world, about learning, growing, and preparing for the many roles he would play in the future. Ronald Reagan's Hollywood years were a time of transformation, a period that would shape the course of his life in ways he never imagined. As the bright lights of Hollywood shone around him, Ronald Reagan stood tall, a man who had followed his dreams and found success. He had proven to himself and to the world that with talent, hard work, and a bit of luck, anything was possible. Ronald's story in Hollywood was not just one of fame and fortune. It was a story of perseverance, growth, and the power of dreaming big. It was a chapter in the life of a man who would go on to play many more roles, both on and off the screen. And so, as the sun set over the Hollywood hills, Ronald Reagan's star continued to rise. He had made his mark in the world of movies, but his journey was far from over. There were more chapters to be written, more roles to be played, and more dreams to be chased. Ronald Reagan, the Hollywood star, was ready for whatever the future held. Chapter 4. Love and Lights. In the midst of Ronald Reagan's rising fame in Hollywood, a new chapter began in his life, one filled with love, lights, and the complexities of the heart. It was in this glamorous world that Ronald met Jane Wyman, a talented actress whose beauty and spirit captivated him. Their first meeting was like a scene from a movie. Ronald and Jane were both invited to a Hollywood party, a dazzling event where the stars of the cinema world shone brightly. The moment Ronald saw Jane, he was struck by her grace and charm. She was a star in her own right, known for her performances that captivated audiences. Ronald and Jane's connection was instant. They found in each other a shared passion for acting and a deep understanding of the challenges and joys of life in Hollywood. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter and shared dreams. It wasn't long before they realized that what they had was special. As their relationship blossomed, Ronald and Jane became one of Hollywood's most admired couples. They were often seen together at premieres and parties, their affection for each other clear for all to see. Their love story was followed with keen interest by their fans and the media, a beautiful tale of romance in the heart of the movie world. In 1940, Ronald and Jane's love culminated in marriage. It was a joyous occasion, a celebration of love amidst the glittering lights of Hollywood. They promised to support and cherish each other, to navigate together the unpredictable journey of life. The early years of their marriage were happy ones. Ronald and Jane's home was a place of warmth and love, where they enjoyed the simple pleasures of life. They welcomed children into their family, adding to their happiness. Ronald was a devoted husband and father, and Jane was a loving wife and mother. However, as the years passed, the pressures of their careers and the challenges of life in Hollywood began to take a toll on their marriage. Ronald's career was demanding, often requiring long hours on set and time away from home. Jane's career, too, was on the rise, bringing with it its own set of demands and pressures. The couple found themselves struggling to balance their professional lives with their personal lives. The time they spent together became less frequent, and when they were together, the stress of their careers often cast a shadow over their moments. As they faced these challenges, communication between Ronald and Jane became strained. They tried to navigate through their difficulties, but the distance between them grew. The love that had once brought them together was now being tested by the very world that had brought them fame and success. Eventually, the strain became too much. Despite their efforts to save their marriage, Ronald and Jane decided to part ways. It was a decision that weighed heavily on both their hearts. The divorce was a painful period for Ronald, a time of deep reflection and sadness. The end of his marriage to Jane was not just a personal loss for Ronald. It was a turning point in his life. It forced him to re-evaluate his priorities and the direction of his life. The experience taught him about the fragility of relationships and the importance of balance in life. Through this period of heartbreak, Ronald learned valuable lessons. He realized that success and fame were not enough to bring true happiness. He understood the importance of nurturing relationships and the need for a strong foundation in life. The experience of love and heartbreak in Hollywood was a profound one for Ronald Reagan. It was a chapter that brought both joy and sorrow, a time of learning and growth. The lights of Hollywood had shone brightly on Ronald and Jane's love story. But they had also cast shadows. As Ronald moved forward from this chapter of his life, he carried with him the memories and lessons of his time with Jane. He was a changed man, more aware of the complexities of life and love. Ronald Reagan, the Hollywood star, had experienced the highs and lows of love, and he was ready to face the next chapter of his life with a wiser and more reflective heart. And so, under the bright lights of Hollywood, Ronald Reagan closed the chapter on one part of his life, ready to embrace new beginnings and new challenges. He stepped forward with a sense of hope and a belief in the possibility of new dreams, new love, and new lights in the journey ahead. Chapter 5. A New Direction. As the world emerged from the shadows of World War II, Ronald Reagan too found himself at a crossroads. The war had changed many things, not just on the global stage, but also within Ronald himself. His experiences during these tumultuous times had a profound impact on him, leading him to a new direction: the world of politics. After the war, the atmosphere in Hollywood and across America was one of change and reflection. People were re-evaluating their beliefs and the role they wished to play in shaping the future. For Ronald, this period was a time of deep introspection. He started to question and rethink his views on various social and political issues. Ronald's transition towards politics did not happen overnight. It was a gradual process, influenced by his experiences and the people he met. His role as the president of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, played a significant role in this shift. As president, Ronald had to navigate complex issues, balancing the needs and rights of actors with the broader concerns of the industry and the country. During his time with SAG, Ronald honed his leadership and communication skills. He became a skilled negotiator, adept at finding common ground in difficult situations. His ability to speak eloquently and persuasively on behalf of others earned him respect and admiration. These experiences in leadership and advocacy laid the foundation for his future political career. Ronald's political views were also shaped by the emerging Cold War. The tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, the spread of communism, and the fear of nuclear war were significant concerns. Ronald, like many Americans, was deeply affected by these global events. He began to see himself as part of a larger struggle, one that was not just about politics, but about the values and future of his country. As his interest in politics grew, Ronald started to engage more actively in political discussions and events. He became a sought-after speaker, known for his ability to articulate his views clearly and passionately. His speeches often reflected his belief in freedom, democracy, and the American way of life. Ronald's journey towards politics was also influenced by his personal life. His marriage to Jane Wyman had ended, and he was searching for a new sense of purpose. Politics provided a platform for him to make a difference, to use his skills and experiences for a greater cause. It was during this period that Ronald met Nancy Davis, an actress who shared many of his beliefs and interests. Nancy became a significant influence in Ronald's life, supporting his political aspirations and providing him with a sense of stability and partnership. Together they formed a strong bond, united by their shared values and visions for the future. As the 1950s approached, Ronald's transition from Hollywood to politics was becoming more evident. He started to align himself with the Republican Party, attracted by its emphasis on individual freedom and limited government. His speeches and public appearances increasingly focused on political themes, resonating with many Americans who shared his views. Ronald's shift towards politics was not just a change in career, it was a transformation of identity. He was no longer just Ronald Reagan, the actor. He was becoming Ronald Reagan, the political figure. This new identity was shaped by his experiences, his beliefs, and his desire to contribute to the well-being of his country. The path to politics was not without its challenges. Ronald faced skepticism from some who doubted the seriousness of an actor entering the political arena. But he was undeterred. He believed in his ability to make a difference, to bring about positive change through leadership and communication. As this chapter in Ronald's life came to a close, he stood at the threshold of a new world. He had left behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood for the complexities and challenges of the political stage. It was a bold move, a leap into the unknown. But Ronald was driven by a conviction that he had a role to play in shaping the future of his country. With his eyes set on new horizons, Ronald Reagan stepped into the world of politics with determination and hope. He was ready to embark on a journey that would take him to places he never imagined, a journey that would eventually lead him to the highest office in the land. And so, with a heart full of dreams and a mind set on making a difference, Ronald Reagan began his journey in politics, a journey that would be marked by challenges, triumphs, and an unwavering commitment to the values he held dear. The actor from Hollywood was on his way to becoming a key figure in American politics, ready to leave his mark on history. Chapter 6. Speaking Out. As the 1950s dawned, Ronald Reagan, now deeply immersed in the political landscape, began to emerge as a powerful voice in American politics. His journey from a Hollywood actor to a compelling public speaker advocating for political causes was both remarkable and inspiring. Ronald's talent for communication, honed during his years in Hollywood, now found a new outlet. He had a unique ability to connect with people, to speak in a way that was both persuasive and relatable. His speeches were not just words, they were powerful tools that could inspire and mobilize. Ronald's foray into political speaking began with a series of talks on behalf of the General Electric Company. As the host of the television program General Electric Theatre, he traveled across the country, visiting GE plants and speaking to workers. These talks were initially about progress and innovation, but soon Ronald began incorporating his political views into his speeches. His messages resonated with many. Ronald spoke about freedom, individual responsibility, and the dangers of government overreach. He believed in the American dream, the idea that anyone, regardless of their background, could achieve success through hard work and determination. These were not just abstract concepts for Ronald. They were deeply personal beliefs, shaped by his own life experiences. As he continued to speak out, Ronald's reputation as a public speaker grew. He was invited to speak at universities, political gatherings, and business forums. His ability to articulate his views clearly and passionately set him apart. He had a way of simplifying complex issues, making them understandable and relevant to everyday Americans. One of Ronald's most significant moments as a speaker came in 1964 with a televised speech in support of the Republican presidential candidate Barry Goldwater. This speech, known as A Time for Choosing, was a defining moment in Ronald's political career. It was a powerful articulation of his conservative philosophy and his vision for America. In this speech, Ronald spoke about the importance of limited government, the threat of communism, and the need to protect individual freedoms. He warned against the dangers of excessive government control and the erosion of personal liberties. His words were not just political rhetoric. They were a call to action, a plea for Americans to stand up for their beliefs and values. A Time for Choosing was more than just a speech. It was a turning point. It catapulted Ronald into the national political spotlight and established him as a leading voice in the conservative movement. People across the country were captivated by his eloquence and inspired by his message. Following this speech, Ronald's role as a political advocate became more pronounced. He began to be seen not just as a speaker, but as a potential leader. His speeches were no longer just about supporting other candidates. They were about laying the groundwork for his own political aspirations. Ronald's transition from acting to political advocacy was not without its critics. Some doubted his qualifications, viewing him as just an actor playing another role. But Ronald was undeterred. He believed in his message and in his ability to contribute to the political discourse. As he continued to speak out, Ronald refined his political views. He became a champion of conservative principles, advocating for a strong national defense, lower taxes, and less government intervention in the lives of citizens. His speeches were a blend of optimism and realism, appealing to both the hopes and the concerns of Americans. Ronald's journey as a public speaker was a testament to the power of words and ideas. He had found a way to use his talents and experiences to effect change, to influence the course of political debates. His speeches were not just about persuading others. They were about sharing a vision of an America that was strong, free, and prosperous. As this chapter in Ronald's life came to a close, he stood at the forefront of American politics, no longer just an actor or a speaker, but a leader with a growing following. He had used his voice to speak out for what he believed in, and in doing so, he had changed the course of his life and the political landscape of America. And so, with a sense of purpose and a commitment to his beliefs, Ronald Reagan continued on his journey, ready to take on new challenges and to play an even greater role in shaping the future of his country. The actor from Hollywood had become a voice for a movement, a man whose words had the power to inspire and lead. The stage was set for the next chapter in his remarkable journey. Chapter 7. A Second Chance at Love. As Ronald Reagan's life journey continued, it took a heartwarming turn. Amidst his rising political career, he found a second chance at love. This new chapter began when Ronald met Nancy Davis, a fellow actress with a grace and charm that captivated him. Their first meeting was under unusual circumstances. Nancy, having noticed that her name appeared on a list of suspected communist sympathizers in Hollywood, sought Ronald's help to clear her name. Ronald was the president of the Screen Actors Guild at the time and was well respected in the industry. He was immediately struck by Nancy's poise and intelligence and agreed to assist her. As Ronald and Nancy worked together to resolve her issue, they discovered a deep connection. They shared similar values and interests, and both had a love for the art of acting. Their conversations were filled with laughter and meaningful discussions about life and their aspirations. It wasn't long before their professional relationship blossomed into a romantic one. Ronald was charmed by Nancy's warm personality and her passionate approach to life. For Nancy, Ronald was a man of integrity and strength, someone who shared her dreams and understood the complexities of a life in the public eye. Their love story was a beautiful blend of friendship and romance. They enjoyed simple pleasures together, like quiet evenings at home or walks in the park. They also supported each other's careers, understanding the demands and pressures that came with their professions. In 1952, Ronald and Nancy decided to marry, beginning a powerful and enduring partnership. Their wedding was a modest affair, reflecting their desire for a life centered around love and family rather than Hollywood glamour. They promised to stand by each other, to face life's challenges together, and to build a future based on mutual respect and understanding. The early years of their marriage were a time of adjustment. They had to navigate the complexities of blending their lives, balancing their careers with their personal commitments. But they faced these challenges together, with patience and love, strengthening their bond. Nancy became a pillar of strength and support for Ronald, especially as he ventured deeper into the world of politics. She was his confidant, advisor, and staunchest supporter. Her belief in him and his aspirations was unwavering. For Ronald, Nancy was not just a wife. She was a partner in every sense, sharing in his triumphs and offering comfort during setbacks. Their love for each other was evident to those around them. They shared a deep mutual respect and an unbreakable bond. Ronald often credited Nancy with bringing joy and balance to his life. She, in turn, admired his commitment to making a difference in the world. As Ronald's political career progressed, Nancy was by his side every step of the way. She was his anchor, keeping him grounded and reminding him of the values and ideals that they cherished. Together, they navigated the often turbulent waters of politics, their partnership growing stronger with each challenge they faced. Ronald and Nancy's love story was more than just a romance. It was a partnership that shaped both their lives. It gave Ronald the emotional support and stability he needed to pursue his ambitions. For Nancy, it was a journey of love, partnership, and shared purpose. Their relationship was a testament to the power of love and the strength that comes from a deep, committed partnership. It showed that even in the midst of public life and career pressures, love could thrive and provide a foundation of support and happiness. As Ronald and Nancy's life together continued, they faced many more challenges and celebrated numerous achievements. Through it all, their love remained a constant, a source of strength and joy. And so, with a heart full of love and a life shared with his true partner, Ronald Reagan continued on his journey, his bond with Nancy a guiding light. Their story was not just one of romance, but of companionship, understanding, and a shared vision for the future. Together, Ronald and Nancy Reagan were ready to face whatever lay ahead, their love a testament to the power of finding a second chance at happiness and a partnership that would stand the test of time. Chapter 8. The Governor. The year was 1966, a year that marked a significant turning point in Ronald Reagan's life. After years of growing involvement in politics and public speaking, he made a decisive move. Ronald decided to run for the office of the Governor of California. This decision was not just a step forward in his political career. It was a leap into a new realm of challenges and responsibilities. The campaign for governor was a whirlwind of activity. Ronald traveled across California, speaking to people from all walks of life. He listened to their concerns, shared his vision, and spread his message of hope and change. His skills as a communicator honed over years in Hollywood and on the political stage, were now put to the test in the political arena. Ronald's campaign focused on several key issues. He promised to restore order and reduce crime, to improve the state's education system, and to manage the government's budget responsibly. His message resonated with many Californians who were eager for change and new leadership. The election was intense and competitive, but Ronald's dedication and hard work paid off. In November 1966, he was elected the 33rd governor of California, winning by a significant margin. It was a moment of triumph and validation for Ronald. His transition from an actor to a politician was now complete. He had proven to those who doubted him that he was more than just a former Hollywood star. He was a leader capable of winning the trust and support of the people. As governor, Ronald faced a myriad of challenges. California, a large and diverse state, had complex issues that required careful and thoughtful leadership. Ronald approached these challenges with a combination of optimism and pragmatism. He believed in the potential of California and its people, and he was determined to make a positive impact. One of Ronald's first tasks as governor was to address the state's financial issues. He worked to balance the budget, making difficult decisions to cut spending and increase revenues. These measures were not always popular, but Ronald believed they were necessary for the long-term health of the state's economy. Education was another area where Ronald focused his efforts. He sought to improve the quality of education in California, advocating for higher standards and better resources for schools. He believed that education was the key to a better future for the state's children and a crucial factor in California's growth and success. Ronald also faced social and political challenges during his tenure. The late 1960s and early 1970s were times of significant change and unrest in the United States. California, with its large and diverse population, was a microcosm of these national trends. Ronald navigated these issues with a focus on maintaining order while respecting the rights and freedoms of all citizens. Throughout his governorship, Ronald's leadership style was marked by his communication skills. He was able to articulate his policies and the reasoning behind them clearly and persuasively. He used his public speaking abilities not just to inform, but to inspire. He wanted to bring Californians together, to build a sense of unity and purpose. Ronald's time as governor was not without controversy or criticism. He made decisions and implemented policies that were not always well received by everyone. However, he remained committed to his principles and his vision for California. He was willing to make tough choices, believing that leadership often meant doing what was right, not just what was popular. After serving 2 terms as governor, Ronald's time in the state office came to an end. His tenure had seen successes and challenges, victories and setbacks, but through it all, Ronald maintained his commitment to serving the people of California to the best of his ability. As he left the governor's office, Ronald reflected on his journey. From Hollywood to Sacramento, he had traveled a path few could have imagined. He had grown as a leader and as a person, gaining experience and insights that would serve him well in the future. Ronald Reagan's time as governor of California was a crucial chapter in his life. It was a period of growth, challenge, and achievement. It set the stage for the next phase of his remarkable journey, a journey that would take him even further than he had dreamed. And so, with a sense of accomplishment and a look towards the future, Ronald Reagan closed the chapter of his life as governor of California. He was ready for new challenges, new opportunities, and new ways to serve his country. The actor-turned-governor had made his mark, and he was poised to make an even greater impact in the years to come. Chapter 9. Trials and Triumphs. Ronald Reagan's tenure as Governor of California was a period marked by both trials and triumphs, a time when his leadership was tested in numerous ways. Each challenge he faced, whether political or personal, became a learning experience, contributing to his growth as a leader. One of the most significant challenges Ronald faced was managing the state's finances. California's budget was under strain, and difficult decisions had to be made. Ronald approached this issue with a firm belief in fiscal responsibility. He worked tirelessly to balance the budget, making tough choices about where to cut spending and how to increase revenues. These decisions were not always popular, but Ronald stood by them, convinced that they were necessary for the long-term health of California's economy. Education reform was another area where Ronald focused his efforts. He believed strongly in the power of education to change lives and improve society. His goal was to ensure that every child in California had access to a quality education. This meant advocating for higher standards, better resources for schools, and more support for teachers. It was a challenging task, but Ronald was committed to making a positive impact on the state's education system. Social issues also demanded Ronald's attention. The late 1960s and early 1970s were times of significant social change in the United States. California, known for its diverse population and progressive attitudes, was often at the forefront of these changes. Ronald navigated these complex issues with a focus on maintaining social order, while respecting individual rights and freedoms. One of the most notable events during Ronald's governorship was his handling of the protests at the University of California, Berkeley. The campus had become a center for anti-Vietnam War protests and other social movements. Ronald's approach to the protests was firm. He believed in the right to peaceful protest, but also in the need to maintain order. His handling of the situation drew both praise and criticism, reflecting the divided opinions of the time. Ronald's leadership style was also tested during natural disasters that struck California. His ability to respond effectively to crises, to coordinate relief efforts, and to support those affected showed a different aspect of his leadership. These moments highlighted his capacity for empathy and his commitment to serving all Californians. Throughout his governorship, Ronald faced criticism and opposition. Politics is inherently divisive, and not everyone agreed with his policies or methods. However, Ronald viewed these challenges as opportunities for dialogue and learning. He believed in the importance of listening to different perspectives, even if he did not always agree with them. Ronald's time as governor also saw personal challenges. Balancing the demands of his public role with his private life was not always easy. His wife, Nancy, was a constant source of support, but the pressures of public life took their toll. Despite these challenges, Ronald remained dedicated to his family, drawing strength from his home life. As Ronald's second term as governor came to a close, he looked back on a period of significant achievements and challenging experiences. He had confronted various state issues head-on, learning valuable lessons about leadership, governance, and the complexities of managing a diverse and dynamic state. Ronald's tenure as governor of California had tested his resolve, his principles, and his abilities. He had faced trials, both political and personal, and emerged stronger from each. The triumphs during his governorship were not just in the policies he implemented or the crises he managed, they were also in the personal growth he experienced and the respect he earned from those he served. As he left office, Ronald Reagan had solidified his reputation as a leader of conviction and resilience. The lessons he learned and the experiences he gained during this time would shape his future endeavors. The actor-turned-governor had proven his ability to lead through challenging times, setting the stage for the next chapter in his extraordinary journey. And so, with a mix of pride and reflection, Ronald Reagan closed the chapter on his governorship. He had navigated the trials and celebrated the triumphs, growing as a leader and as a person. He was ready for the next stage of his life, armed with the knowledge, experience, and determination to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 10. The Road to the White House. After 2 successful terms as governor of California, Ronald Reagan's aspirations reached even higher, towards the most prestigious office in the United States, the presidency. This chapter of his life was a journey filled with ambition, determination, and the spirit of a true leader. Ronald's decision to run for president was not made lightly. He knew the road to the White House would be challenging, requiring immense effort, dedication, and resilience. But Ronald was driven by a deep belief in his vision for America, a vision of renewed strength, economic prosperity, and global leadership. The campaign trail began, and Ronald embarked on this ambitious journey. He traveled across the country, speaking to people from all walks of life. From small-town gatherings to large city rallies, Ronald shared his vision and listened to the concerns and hopes of the American people. He spoke about reducing government interference, reviving the economy, and restoring the nation's confidence. Ronald's ability to connect with his audience was remarkable. His years in Hollywood and as governor had honed his skills in communication. He had a unique way of explaining complex issues in simple, relatable terms. His speeches were not just political rhetoric, they were conversations with the American people, full of optimism and sincerity. However, the campaign was not without its hurdles. Ronald faced strong opposition from other candidates, both within his party and from the Democrats. The political landscape was competitive and sometimes divisive. Ronald had to navigate through intense debates, media scrutiny, and the rigorous demands of the campaign trail. Throughout the campaign, Ronald's wife, Nancy, was a pillar of support. She stood by him, offering encouragement and insight. Her presence was a source of strength for Ronald, especially during the most challenging times. Together they faced the rigors of the campaign with unwavering commitment and mutual support. One of the most pivotal moments in the campaign was a national televised debate. Ronald's performance in the debate was a turning point. He displayed not only his deep understanding of the issues, but also his ability to connect with the audience on a personal level. His famous line, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" resonated with many Americans, encapsulating the core message of his campaign. As the campaign progressed, Ronald's following grew. His message of hope and change struck a chord with many who were seeking a new direction for the country. He appealed to a wide range of voters, drawing support from various demographics and regions. The momentum was building, and it became clear that Ronald Reagan was a formidable candidate for the presidency. The road to the White House was long and arduous, but Ronald navigated it with determination and grace. He faced each challenge with a positive outlook and a steadfast commitment to his beliefs. The journey tested his endurance, his convictions, and his leadership abilities. Finally, the campaign reached its climax on Election Day. The nation waited in anticipation as the votes were counted. The results came in, and Ronald Reagan was elected the 40th President of the United States. It was a moment of triumph, the culmination of years of hard work and the beginning of a new era in American politics. Ronald's election as president was not just a personal victory. It was a testament to the power of perseverance and vision. He had overcome the odds, turning his dream into a reality. His journey from a small-town boy to the President of the United States was an extraordinary tale of ambition, resilience, and the pursuit of a dream. As Ronald Reagan prepared to take office, he stood at the threshold of a new chapter, ready to lead the nation. He faced the future with optimism ready to implement his vision for a stronger, more prosperous America. The road to the White House had been long and challenging, but Ronald had walked it with integrity and purpose. And so, with a heart full of hope and a nation's trust, Ronald Reagan stepped into the highest office in the land. The actor, the governor, now the president, was ready to shape the destiny of America and leave his mark on the world stage. The journey ahead was filled with possibilities, and Ronald Reagan was determined to make the most of this extraordinary opportunity. Chapter 11. Mr. President. The dawn of Ronald Reagan's presidency marked the beginning of a significant era, not just in his life, but in the history of American politics. On January 20th, 1981, Ronald Reagan stood before the nation as the 40th President of the United States. It was a moment of great responsibility and immense opportunity. The inauguration day was filled with the usual pomp and ceremony, but for Ronald, it was much more than just a formal event. It was the day he took on the mantle of leading one of the world's most powerful nations. The air was charged with a sense of anticipation and hope. Ronald, with his characteristic optimism, was ready to embark on the challenging journey of his presidency. One of Ronald's first acts as president was to address the economic issues facing the country. The United States was experiencing high inflation and unemployment rates, and Ronald was determined to revive the economy. He introduced a series of economic policies known as Reaganomics, which focused on reducing government spending, cutting taxes, and deregulating businesses. These policies were based on his belief that a free market and less government interference would lead to economic growth and prosperity. Ronald also faced foreign policy challenges. The Cold War was at its height, and relations with the Soviet Union were a central concern. Ronald took a firm stance against communism, advocating for a strong national defense and a proactive foreign policy. He believed in the importance of maintaining America's global leadership and promoting democracy and freedom worldwide. One of the defining moments of Ronald's presidency was his approach to the Cold War. His famous speech at the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, where he uttered the iconic words, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," was a bold call for the end of the division between East and West Germany. It epitomized his direct and assertive approach to foreign policy. Ronald's presidency was also marked by his ability to communicate with the American people. He was often referred to as the Great Communicator because of his skill in articulating his policies and connecting with the public. His speeches, often infused with personal anecdotes and humor, were effective in conveying his message and rallying support. Despite his popularity, Ronald's presidency was not without challenges and controversies. His policies, particularly in economics and foreign affairs, were often debated and criticized. He faced difficult moments, including the recession in the early 1980s and the Iran-Contra affair. However, Ronald faced these challenges head-on, guided by his principles and his commitment to what he believed was best for the country. Ronald also had significant achievements during his presidency. His economic policies led to a period of economic growth, and his foreign policy initiatives played a role in the eventual end of the Cold War. He left the presidency with high approval ratings and was respected by many for his leadership and dedication. Beyond the policies and the political battles, Ronald's presidency was about a vision for America, a vision of optimism, strength, and prosperity. He sought to inspire Americans to believe in themselves and in the potential of their country. His leadership style, marked by confidence and resolve, left a lasting impact on American politics. As Ronald's presidency came to an end, he looked back on his time in office with a sense of accomplishment. He had faced the challenges of leading a nation with determination, and had stayed true to his beliefs and values. His journey from a Hollywood actor to the President of the United States was a testament to the possibilities that lie within the American dream. And so, as Ronald Reagan concluded his time as president, he left behind a legacy that would be long remembered. He had shaped the course of the nation and the world in significant ways. The actor, the governor, the president had played his role on the world stage with conviction, leaving a mark that would be etched in history. As Ronald stepped away from the presidency, he looked forward to a new chapter in his life, one filled with reflections, new experiences, and continued service in different ways. His journey was a remarkable story of resilience, leadership, and the unwavering pursuit of a vision, a story that would inspire generations to come. Chapter 12. Challenges of Leadership. As president, Ronald Reagan faced a multitude of challenges that tested his leadership on both the national and international stage. His presidency was a period of significant events, each presenting its own set of difficulties and requiring decisive action. One of the most pressing issues Ronald faced was the state of the U.S. economy. When he took office, the country was experiencing high inflation and unemployment, a situation that caused distress to many Americans. Ronald's approach to tackling these issues was rooted in his belief in reducing government intervention and fostering a free market. He implemented policies aimed at reducing taxes and government spending, with the goal of stimulating economic growth. These measures, though controversial, reflected his commitment to his economic philosophy. Another significant challenge was the Cold War, a period of intense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. This global tension was not just a political issue. It was a matter of national security. Ronald adopted a firm stance against communism, leading to a significant build-up of military strength. His strategy was clear: to show strength and resolve in the face of what he viewed as the expansionist policies of the Soviet Union. Ronald's leadership was particularly tested in 1983, when relations between the United States and the Soviet Union were strained due to the deployment of intermediate-range nuclear missiles in Europe. The move was a response to the Soviet Union's own missile deployment, but it heightened the risk of a nuclear confrontation. Ronald navigated these tense moments with a mix of firmness and a willingness to engage in dialogue. One of the most harrowing challenges during his presidency was the threat of nuclear war. The world came perilously close to this reality in 1983, following a series of misunderstandings and heightened tensions. Ronald's response to this crisis showed his deep understanding of the gravity of the situation and his commitment to preventing a nuclear catastrophe. On the domestic front, Ronald faced significant challenges as well. The early 1980s saw a severe recession, one of the worst economic downturns since the Great Depression. The high unemployment rates and economic hardship that followed tested Ronald's economic policies and his leadership resolve. He remained steadfast in his approach, believing that his policies would eventually lead to recovery. Another major domestic issue was the war on drugs, a campaign launched by Ronald's administration to combat drug use and trafficking in the United States. This initiative was a response to a growing concern about drug-related crime and its impact on society. The campaign involved a mix of law enforcement measures and public education efforts. Internationally, Ronald's presidency was marked by a series of events that demanded careful and strategic handling. These included the bombing of the U.S. Marine barracks in Lebanon in 1983 and the invasion of Grenada the same year. Each of these events presented unique challenges and required a delicate balance between military action and diplomatic efforts. Throughout his presidency, Ronald faced criticisms and opposition to his policies and decisions. His economic policies were debated, and his foreign policy moves, particularly his approach to the Cold War, were scrutinized. However, Ronald met these challenges with a combination of optimism, a firm belief in his principles, and a willingness to listen and adapt. Ronald's leadership during these challenging times was a testament to his character and his vision for America and the world. He navigated through these difficulties with a focus on what he believed was best for the country and the free world. His presidency was marked by a series of significant events that shaped the course of history. As Ronald's time in office progressed, he continued to face challenges with resilience and determination. His leadership during times of economic hardship, global tension, and national crises demonstrated his commitment to his role as president and his dedication to the American people and global stability. And so, Ronald Reagan's presidency was not just a period of governance, it was a time of significant challenges and leadership tests. He faced these challenges with a spirit of optimism and a belief in the power of freedom and democracy. His journey through these trials and triumphs left an indelible mark on America and the world, defining his legacy as a leader who faced the challenges of his time with courage and conviction. Chapter 13. The Great Communicator. During his presidency, Ronald Reagan became widely known as the Great Communicator. This title was not just a nod to his eloquence, but a recognition of his exceptional ability to connect with people both in the United States and around the world. His communication skills were pivotal in his presidency, playing a significant role in winning hearts and influencing national and global discussions. Ronald's background in acting and public speaking provided him with a unique set of skills that he effectively utilized as president. He understood the power of words and the importance of conveying a clear and compelling message. Whether he was addressing the nation in times of crisis or delivering a speech on foreign policy, Ronald knew how to articulate his thoughts in a way that was both persuasive and relatable. One of the key aspects of Ronald's communication style was his ability to use simple, direct language. He avoided complex jargon and spoke in terms that were easy to understand. This approach made his messages accessible to a broad audience, ensuring that his ideas were heard and understood by people from all walks of life. Ronald also had a knack for using storytelling to make his points. He often shared personal anecdotes or historical tales that illustrated his messages in a vivid and memorable way. This technique not only made his speeches more engaging, but also helped to humanize him, making him more relatable to the average citizen. In addition to his speaking skills, Ronald was also adept at using television and other media to communicate his message. He was one of the first presidents to master the art of television broadcasting, understanding its power to reach millions of people. His televised addresses, whether from the Oval Office or on the road, were carefully crafted to convey his policies and reassure the nation. One of Ronald's most memorable speeches was his address following the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster in 1986. In this moment of national grief, Ronald's words provided comfort and strength to a mourning nation. He spoke not only as the president, but as a compassionate leader who shared in the sorrow of his fellow Americans. Ronald's communication skills were also evident in his dealings with foreign leaders and in international forums. He used his speeches to assert the United States' position on global issues and to promote democracy and freedom. His speeches at the Berlin Wall and to the United Nations are notable examples of how he used his oratory skills to influence global discourse. Moreover, Ronald's humor and warmth were integral parts of his communication style. He often used humor to disarm opponents, lighten the mood, or make a point in a more impactful way. His affable nature helped him build relationships, both domestically and internationally, which were crucial to his diplomatic efforts. Throughout his presidency, Ronald faced various challenges that required not just political acumen, but also the ability to communicate effectively. His ability to articulate his vision and rally support was crucial in achieving his policy goals and in navigating the complex landscape of international politics. Ronald's legacy as the great communicator is a testament to the importance of clear, effective communication in leadership. He demonstrated that the way a leader conveys their message can be just as important as the message itself. His speeches and addresses are still studied and admired for their clarity, eloquence, and ability to connect with an audience. As his presidency progressed, Ronald continued to use his communication skills to engage with the American people and the world. He remained committed to sharing his vision for America, using every opportunity to speak about the values of freedom, democracy, and hope. And so Ronald Reagan's role as the great communicator became a defining feature of his presidency. His ability to convey his ideas and emotions in a way that resonated with people across the globe was a key factor in his success as a leader. His speeches and messages left a lasting impact, shaping not just policy, but also the hearts and minds of those who heard them. The actor who became a president had used his greatest skill to lead and inspire, cementing his place in history as a master of presidential communication. Chapter 14. Times of Turbulence. Ronald Reagan's presidency, while marked by significant achievements, was also a time of turbulence and trials. These challenges tested his resolve, his leadership, and the very principles he stood for. Among the most dramatic moments were an assassination attempt and various political controversies that stirred the nation. On March 30th, 1981, just a few months into his first term, a shocking event occurred that would forever mark Ronald's presidency. As he was leaving a speaking engagement at the Washington Hilton Hotel, an assassin's bullet struck him. The nation was thrown into a state of panic and uncertainty. The attempted assassination was not only a personal attack on Ronald, but a direct assault on the stability of American democracy. Despite the gravity of his injury, Ronald displayed remarkable composure and resilience. His first thoughts were of his wife, Nancy, and the impact the news would have on her. Even in his weakened state, he maintained his sense of humor, famously quipping to the surgeons, "I hope you are all Republicans." This incident revealed Ronald's strength of character and his ability to face adversity with courage. The assassination attempt had a profound impact on the nation. It brought to the forefront issues of gun control, mental health, and the security of public figures. For Ronald, it was a sobering reminder of the vulnerability that came with his position. However, it also reinforced his determination to pursue his goals and serve his country. Beyond this personal trial, Ronald's presidency was marked by several political controversies. One of the most significant was the Iran-Contra affair. This political scandal involved the secret sale of arms to Iran, which was then embroiled in a conflict with Iraq, and the diversion of the proceeds to support Contra rebels in Nicaragua. The revelation of these actions led to intense scrutiny and criticism, as they appeared to contradict the administration's public policies. The Iran-Contra affair was a complex and multifaceted controversy that tested Ronald's leadership. It raised questions about accountability, foreign policy decision-making, and the limits of presidential power. Ronald faced these challenges head-on, addressing the nation to take responsibility and promising a thorough investigation into the matter. Throughout these times of turbulence, Ronald's communication skills and his ability to connect with the American people were crucial. He used his addresses to the nation to explain his positions, to reassure the public, and to maintain support for his policies. His forthrightness and sincerity during these difficult times helped to sustain his popularity and credibility. Another challenge Ronald faced was managing relations with the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The arms race and the threat of nuclear conflict were ongoing concerns that required careful diplomacy and strategic decision-making. Ronald's approach was a blend of firmness and openness to dialogue, which eventually contributed to the easing of tensions between the two superpowers. Domestically, Ronald also faced economic challenges, including a recession and rising national debt. These issues required difficult decisions about budget cuts, tax policies, and government spending. Ronald's economic policies, while successful in some respects, were also a source of debate and criticism. Throughout his presidency, Ronald showed a capacity to navigate through these turbulent times with determination and a steady hand. He faced each challenge with a resolve to find solutions and to uphold the principles he believed in. His leadership during these times was characterized by a balance of strength and openness, qualities that helped him guide the nation through periods of uncertainty and change. As Ronald's time in the White House continued, he remained focused on his vision for America and the world. He confronted the trials of his presidency with resilience, learning from each experience and using these lessons to inform his future decisions. The turbulence of these times, from the assassination attempt to political controversies, shaped Ronald's presidency in significant ways. They tested his strength as a leader and his commitment to his values. Through it all, Ronald maintained his focus on serving the American people and working towards a better future for the nation. And so, amidst the trials of his presidency, Ronald Reagan stood firm, guiding the country through times of turbulence with courage and conviction. His tenure in the White House was a testament to his resilience and his unwavering dedication to his role as a leader. The challenges he faced and overcame during these years were not just obstacles, but opportunities for growth and reaffirmation of his commitment to the nation he led. Chapter 15. Legacy and Farewell. As Ronald Reagan's presidency neared its end, a time of reflection began, both for him and for the nation. It was a period to look back on his years in office, to contemplate the achievements, the challenges, and the legacy he would leave behind. Ronald's 8 years as president were marked by significant accomplishments. One of his most notable achievements was his contribution to ending the Cold War. His firm stance against communism and his diplomatic initiatives with Soviet leaders played a crucial role in reducing global tensions and, ultimately, in the fall of the Berlin Wall. This was a monumental event in world history, symbolizing the triumph of democracy and freedom over oppression. Economically, Ronald's presidency was characterized by efforts to stimulate growth and reduce government intervention. His policies led to a period of economic expansion and are credited with helping to revive the American economy from the recession of the early 1980s. While his economic approach, often termed Reaganomics, was a subject of much debate, it left a lasting impact on the country's economic policy. Ronald also left a mark with his distinct communication style. As the great communicator, he had a unique ability to connect with the American people, using his speeches to inspire and to convey his vision for the country. His addresses, often laced with optimism and patriotism, played a significant role in shaping public opinion and rallying national sentiment. However, Ronald's presidency was not without its setbacks. The Iran-Contra affair was a significant controversy that marred his second term. It raised questions about the administration's handling of foreign policy and its transparency. Ronald faced these challenges head-on, acknowledging mistakes and taking responsibility, a gesture that highlighted his commitment to accountability. As he prepared to leave office, Ronald reflected on these experiences with a sense of humility and pride. He acknowledged that while not every decision was perfect, his administration had always worked with the best interests of the country at heart. He hoped his legacy would be one of peace, strength, and prosperity for the United States. Ronald's farewell address to the nation was a poignant moment. He spoke of the changes the country had undergone during his tenure, the challenges faced, and the achievements made. He expressed his gratitude to the American people for their trust and support, and encouraged them to remain committed to the values of freedom and democracy. In his final days in the White House, Ronald also thought about his personal journey, from a young man in Illinois to the highest office in the land. It was a journey marked by determination, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the American dream. He hoped his story would serve as an inspiration to others, a testament to what could be achieved with hard work and conviction. Ronald's legacy extended beyond his policy achievements. He had redefined the presidency in many ways, bringing a new style of leadership and communication. He had shown that a president could be both a strong leader and a relatable figure, able to connect with people across different walks of life. As Ronald Reagan bid farewell to the presidency, he left behind a nation that was different from the one he had inherited. He had steered the country through a period of significant change, leaving a lasting imprint on American politics and society. His farewell was not just the end of a presidency, it was the closing of a significant chapter in American history. Ronald Reagan's legacy was a blend of achievements and challenges, a reflection of his commitment to serving his country and his vision for its future. And so, as Ronald Reagan stepped away from the White House, he did so with a sense of accomplishment and hope. He had dedicated 8 years of his life to leading a nation, facing its challenges with courage, and striving towards a brighter future. His presidency was a story of leadership, resilience, and the enduring power of the American spirit. Chapter 16. The Sunset Years. As Ronald Reagan stepped away from the presidency and into his sunset years, a new chapter of his life began. This period was marked by personal reflection, time with family, and the inevitable challenges of aging. But even as a private citizen, Ronald's influence and legacy continued to resonate both in America and around the world. In these post-presidential years, Ronald cherished his time with his beloved wife, Nancy, and his family. Together, they retreated to their ranch in California, a place that offered tranquility and respite from the public eye. Here, amidst the rolling hills and under the vast open skies, Ronald found peace and contentment. The ranch was a haven where he could indulge in simpler pleasures, horseback riding, tending to the land, and enjoying the quiet moments of nature. These years were also a time for Ronald to reflect on his life's journey, from his humble beginnings in Illinois to the pinnacle of American politics. He spent his days writing, sharing his experiences and thoughts through his memoirs and letters. This writing was not just a way to document his life. It was a means to stay connected with the world beyond the ranch. Ronald and Nancy also remained active in various charitable endeavors and public speaking engagements. Though his public appearances were less frequent, whenever Ronald spoke, people listened. His words still carried weight, and his opinions on political matters were sought after by leaders and the media alike. However, Ronald's sunset years were not without their challenges. In 1994, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, a degenerative brain disorder. The diagnosis was a turning point, marking the beginning of a difficult journey, with a disease that gradually eroded his memory and cognitive functions. Ronald faced this challenge with the same strength and dignity that had characterized his public life. In a heartfelt letter to the American people, he publicly disclosed his diagnosis, bringing attention to the plight of those suffering from Alzheimer's and their families. His openness about his condition was yet another example of his ability to connect with people, even in times of personal adversity. Nancy was a constant presence by his side, caring for him with unwavering dedication. The bond between them remained strong, a testament to their deep love and commitment to each other. In facing Ronald's illness together, they demonstrated the power of love and resilience in the face of life's most challenging moments. Throughout his battle with Alzheimer's, Ronald's legacy continued to be celebrated. His contributions to American politics and the global stage were remembered and honored. He was a figure of inspiration for many, a symbol of optimism, strength, and the enduring spirit of the American dream. In his final years, Ronald's public appearances became rarer, but his influence remained undiminished. Leaders and citizens alike looked back on his presidency as a time of significant change and leadership. His policies, speeches, and the very way he carried himself continued to be points of reference in political discussions. Ronald Reagan's sunset years were a blend of personal joys and challenges. They were a time of reflection, love, and enduring influence. He had lived a life full of remarkable achievements and had faced his share of trials, both in and out of the public eye. As the sun slowly set on Ronald Reagan's life, he left behind a legacy that would long be remembered. He had been a leader, a communicator, and above all, a man devoted to his country and the ideals he believed in. His journey from a young boy in Illinois to a revered former president was a story of persistence, courage, and unwavering faith in the American dream. And so, Ronald Reagan's life came to a close, but his story, his influence, and the memories he left behind would continue to inspire and resonate. The actor, the president, the man, Ronald Reagan had made his mark on history, leaving a legacy of leadership and hope that would endure for generations to come. And as we conclude this captivating narrative of Ronald Reagan's life, we invite you to continue your journey of learning English through stories at wooenglish.com. Discover more inspiring tales and download free ebooks in PDF format to enhance your language skills. Join us on this educational adventure, where every story brings you closer to mastering English. Visit wooenglish.com today and embark on your language learning odyssey.